It's a busy time on the jetty this morning. Lots of my colleagues are here. We've got the catamaran, we've got the solar boat, and we've got the harbour rib as well. The crew, skippers and crew for the solar boat have come here for refamiliarisation training after the year off from all the COVID we've been going through. So over here we have got a rib, a rigid inflatable boat. We have two of these that are operated by the Harbour Patrol team.
Approximately 20 years ago, the Harbour Patrol started using ribs very similar to this one. This is our newest edition that we've had for just over a year now. These are the primary tool that we use in helping people around the harbour, really. Our primary task is to look after the safety of people in the harbour, and these boats help us to do just that. Fairly sizable engines, but these are used really for towage. Towage is something that we do the most of, whether it's people run aground or engine failure or mechanical failure in sailing boat rigging, anything like that. We're equipped to tow anything and everything, really, from tiny dinghies right up to bigger, motor yachts, barges, all sorts of stuff. The harbour itself is a huge area to cover, and in years past it used to take the smaller harbour master vessels up to an hour to reach the further flung corners. Now, as we act essentially as a rescue service, we attend medical emergencies. We need to get places very quickly at times. We do enforce the speed limit of 8 knots, and we do adhere to that. Part of our remit for the patrol team is to enforce bylaws across the harbour. Primarily for safety, we are looking at the 8 knot speed limit and also excessive wash caused by vessels that are quite often exceeding the speed limit. Also, big vessels within mooring areas causing a lot of wake can prove really quite unsafe for people in small tenders, kayaks, paddleboards, that sort of thing. The water in England is cold at any time of year, so it's people getting tipped in unexpectedly is never a good thing.
This unusual shaped vessel here is our mooring barge. She's been busy working all winter, maintaining the moorings and the navigation marks, and now she's ashore to have her spring maintenance and refit.
On board here we lift the moorings up, service them and replace them, as well as navigation marks. We have a high-ab crane capable of nearly 8 tonnes and a winch capable of 5 tonnes. This enables us to winch the concrete blocks off the seabed, crane them on board and service them as necessary. As you can see, we've got chains on board here ready for servicing our next batch of moorings.
I'm on the ferry that runs between Itchenor and the Botham Peninsula, and these days it's run by Andy Larson. We're just currently going to pick up some walkers on the bottom side. Now, in the 1970s, after the Conservancy was formed, Philip Couchman, the new amenity manager back then, became the AONB manager. He thought it'd be nice to bring the ferry back, and so he managed to buy a boat locally. It was a dory that was made in the harbour, and he got someone to start running the ferry again as a business. Andy, how long have you run the ferry now?
So I've been the ferryman at Itchenor for 24 years now.
Now, I think of this boat as a new boat. When did you get it built?
So this boat was built 3 years ago. I had it built by a fairly local chap, and built to my specification. All boats are a bit of a compromise, but I think we've got it pretty right with this one, and it does the job really well. It has a drop down bow on it for loading and unloading on the footpath, a side door. It's lots of space, very stable boat, and really pleased with it.
Here we have got the solar boat, which is a catamaran, entirely solar powered, and she's been here since 2004 and came from an expo in Switzerland in 2002 on Lake Neuchâtel. And with me is Mick Gladwin, who was one of the first skippers.
Well, welcome to the solar boat. I've been driving this boat now since you started in 2004. The first thing I noticed when I heard that they were looking for people to drive the boat, I came over, and it was amazing that there were a lot of people who wanted to drive it but couldn't actually get the concept of it, i.e. twin hull and twin props. People had been so used to a boat with an internal combustion engine on it. So if you put the throttles forward, you could hear the engine revs speed up. You knew you had control. On the solar boat, it's quiet, it's silent. That's why we like it, and it's good for the harbour. When you put your throttles ahead, you don't hear anything. So it takes a bit of getting used to if you've only been used to a diesel engine or a petrol engine on the water.
We're on board Oyster Boat Terror, which is the last and the only really remaining oyster boat from the Emsworth Oyster Fleet. So Terror is owned by Chichester Harbour Conservancy. She's operated by a team of dedicated volunteers from Friends of Chichester Harbour, and we take up to 6 passengers out at a time from May until September for trips around the harbour lasting about 2.5 hours depending on the tide and the weather. It's a wonderful trip. We see all the wildlife, the seas, the seals, the birds, whatever is in the harbour at the time, it'll be pointed out to you by the skipper. It's a great trip and well worth the time to take the trouble to go on board.
I'm here at the lifeboat station on Hayling Island, which is at the entrance to Chichester Harbour. I'm here to meet Jonathan Bradbury, who is the lifeboat station operations manager.
Before we were established in 1975, a rescue service, a private rescue service called HISRO, Hayling Island Rescue and Research Organisation, worked using a similar kind of boat that we've got here off the beach near the Coast Guard station. The RNLI and HISRO got together in 1975, acquired this piece of land and built a much smaller lifeboat station on here to have an Atlantic 21 lifeboat. Hayling Lifeboat Station, we have 2 very different sorts of lifeboat. The D-boat here predominantly is used in the harbour in shallow water, picking up people who get stuck in the mud, boats that run aground. It will go quite easily underneath the bridge, but as you can see, it's reasonably small. This is an Atlantic 85, an 8.5 metre boat, which will do 35 knots. It has a crew of 4 and can travel for about 4 hours on a full tank. We can get between 60 and 90 shouts a year. They can be anything from broken down sailing boats, motorboats, paddleboarders that aren't able to get ashore, windsurfers, people walking their dogs, getting stuck in the mud, a whole variety of different things. At one time I would say it's very seasonal, but in fact over the last 2 or 3 years we've had a steady number of customers coming to us throughout the year.
Next month we're going to be thinking about the volunteers who help us with Chichester Harbour, such as, if I get my phone out here, put it onto video and start videoing, we also have our volunteer camera operator is Shirley Rushmer.